My dear listener, oh my God, I have one of my favorite people on this podcast episode. I cannot wait to introduce you to her because she's amazing. My membership members know because she was in the membership, I want to say maybe a year ago at this point, and it was just such a fun time. And so I can't wait for you to get to know her on the show today. And that is my dear friend, Lia Demacourt. Lia of Lia the Astrologer is a Karmic and Akashic Astrologer and a love manifestation guide. Using her unique approach, a blend of karmic astrology, Akashic Records, and holistic healing, she guides women to release old wounds, break unconscious patterns, and step into the kind of love that truly feels like home. Amazing. Hi, Lia. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yay. And where are you located, Lia?
I'm currently in New Hampshire. I'm at my childhood home, my parents' home, but I live in Vermont generally, so northeastern United States.
We love it. And I am coming out to visit Lia next week. I'm so excited. So we're going to have some fun. And
I know, I can't believe it's so soon.
I am so pumped because Lia taps into such a special space within the astrology world that I feel like is so needed, and I feel like supports so many women with what they're going through right now. So myself included, LOL. So I can't wait to dive into a conversation today where you're going to get to know her better and her gifts. And so, Lia, for us to know a little bit about you, can you share your astrology sun, moon, and rising?
Yes, absolutely. So my sun is Taurus, and I do have quite a bit of Taurus in my chart in general. So I really identify with that. And then my moon is Leo, and my rising sign is Sagittarius. I will also add that I have a stellium in Gemini, so that feels like a big part of who I am as well.
I love that. Yes. And I understand too why we're friends. There's so much compatibility. I love it.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
can you share with us your human design type as well?
Yes, I am a projector. I'm a 3-5 emotional projector.
And what does that mean to you?
So, I'm not sure. Let's see. It's so funny. I love the human design stuff, but I'm not as well versed at speaking on it, even though I feel like I have a depth of understanding of it, but I don't always know how to communicate that. But I really resonate with being a projector. When I discovered that I was a projector, it was like everything made sense all of a sudden. I really do feel that I'm here to guide others by first guiding myself through my own healing and transformation. And that's where the 3 line comes in. I know you're a 3 line too, so you can relate to that, but it's kind of the experimenter. Like I'm meant to really learn through lived experience and then be able to guide others from that lived experience. And then the emotional part, the emotional authority, understanding that has honestly been the most game-changing part of understanding human design for me, because learning to wait for my emotional wave to kind of process, not making decisions from a place of heightened emotion or lower emotion, whether that's feeling really excited about something or really angry about something or sad about something. I try not to make decisions from those places and wait until I come to a place of feeling more level and make decisions from that place. And that has really been so game changing for me to give myself permission to do that and just understand that that's how I operate best.
I love that. And it's so beautifully explained. And yes, makes so much sense. So thank you for sharing that. I want us to just start chatting a little bit about your work. And so can you just share with us in your own words, what do you do and how do you feel called to help women right now in this space?
So I am a karmic astrologer and Akashic Astrologer, which means that I blend together the Akashic Records and astrology. And my approach to astrology really is through the karmic lens, looking at past lives and ancestral karma that is coming through the lineage and seeing that in someone's birth chart and seeing how it's affecting their life today. So I think a lot of astrologers tend to look towards the future, and I think that's amazing. And it's not my forte. It's not my specialty. My specialty is actually looking more towards the past. whether that's the past from this life or past from previous lifetimes and ancestry. And so I weave all of those pieces together, as well as kind of like more grounded pieces of feng shui, intentional design, as well as Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine and ancestral ways of eating. I weave all of these pieces together to kind of create my own approach to healing that I use to help women heal their love lives and manifest their dream partners. And so my through line through my work is really the astrology. Like that is my one true passion in this life. And that guides my work in this world so much. But I love weaving in all the other components as well. And learning the Akashic Records from you, Emily, was like such a game changer in terms of amplifying the potency of my astrology readings.
Oh, I had full body chills with everything that you shared. It's so beautiful. It's so potent. Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to know, how did we get here? Like, what was the journey that led us here? Feel free to dive into it in as much detail as you would like to share, whatever comes to mind.
Okay. So from like my very first kind of spiritual experiences, or more just modern day, speaking about childhood, or more?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, let me reframe the question. So on that note, I would love to know, Lia, how did we get here? So can you share with us a little bit about your spiritual journey and what led you to discovering astrology and that being such a big part of your life?
So spirituality was really not part of my life until I was in my, I would say, mid to late 20s. I grew up with no religion, no connection to spirituality. My brother and I would make fun of self-development books at the bookstore. And that, of course, that judgment was, of course, just rooted in ignorance. But that was the level I was at. I really just had no connection whatsoever to the spiritual space. However, I would walk my dogs in the woods, and I always, always, always have had a really deep connection to nature. And as a child, I spent a lot of time in the woods playing and walking my dogs. And I remember that I would have these visions that would come through, and they would be visions of myself as a princess in rural China, and also a lot of visions of Ireland. And at the time, I thought they were just daydreams. I would kind of get lost in these daydreams while I was wandering in the woods. And fast forward to many years later, I see now that they were actually past life remembrances. And what that shows me is that I've always connected most to spirituality through nature, even as a child, even when I wasn't aware of it. That's always the way that I've most deeply connected to spirituality. And now that I really do identify as spiritual, I find that I channel best when I'm in the forest or in the lake or skiing. So I still really, that is such a huge part of my life. So even before spirituality kind of became my way of being in the world, I connected deeply to it through nature. And I feel like that's important to say, because that was kind of my entry point to this whole world opening up of learning the Akashic Records and astrology and all of that. But I really didn't connect to astrology until probably, very late 20s. I remember in my early 20s, someone had a coffee table book about sun signs. And I remember reading about my sun sign Taurus and being like, oh my gosh, like this is so spot on. And thinking like, oh, maybe there actually is something to astrology. But it wasn't until, probably my late 20s that I started going down the rabbit hole studying it. And there was an astrologer that I followed. And I just remember one day standing in my kitchen and thinking like, oh, I want to do what she does. And it was just this light bulb moment, and everything shifted after that. And I just decided to go down that path and pursued getting an astrology, or taking, doing an astrology mentorship and courses, and really diving into it more deeply. And then, of course, that led me to the Akashic Records with you and opened up this whole new world for me. But I really, like, my initial entry point into spirituality was at a moment where I was really going through a difficult period. I was about 27. I was really going through a very difficult period. And a friend of a friend recommended a Reiki practitioner who I still do sessions with to this day. I love her. And her name is Sharna. And I didn't know what it was. I just listened to my friend and she said, this will probably help you. And I said, okay. And I did that session. And I was blown away. I was like, what is this intuitive guidance that's coming through? And that really led me down this whole path.
Beautiful. Wow. Amazing. So many things that you share that are so potent that I feel like people are really going to resonate with. And I'm curious too, with some of your childhood experiences with having these past life memories, and then you go down this whole journey, this whole road that leads you to the records. We, of course, start learning about past lives with the Akashic Records program. So when did you start to connect the dots that some of the things that you maybe had seen in your mind's eye or clairvoyance was real and was like actually part of you and was actually coming from a past life? When did you start to realize, I guess my deeper question is, when did you start to become aware of your own spiritual gifts? And that not only is that this work is real, but also that you are able to connect with the spirit world yourself?
Oh, it's such a good question. So I'm trying to remember the sequence. I think it was really through the Akashic Records certification that I really started to trust myself. When I studied astrology and I began doing astrology readings, I found them to be naturally very intuitive. I let my intuition lead me in the readings, and I was surprised by that, actually. The things that would come through, the things that I would just know, it would often surprise me, but it was so intuitive to me. And I didn't really understand that, but I just went with it. And people would tell me, like, oh, this is so spot on. And so I was like, okay. And then I found you through Instagram and signed up for your Akashic Records certification. And I remember the night before the certification, I was an like before it began, I hadn't even signed up yet. I was an absolute nervous wreck, like a nervous wreck. I was so anxious. And I kept going back and forth. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And I find looking back that the moments in my life where I'm most anxious are the moments where something huge is about to happen and nothing will ever be the same. And there's a big change. And it's almost like my system preparing me, like, whoa, there's something big coming. So I remember waking up that morning. I barely slept at all. But when I woke up that morning and I decided to officially sign up, I think I did it about an hour before the certification started. And I'm now looking back, I understand where that anxiety was coming from, because it did change my life in the most incredible way, like truly. It completely blasted open my spiritual gifts. That was when I was suddenly able to be like, oh, wow, I can channel and I'm able to tap into all these things and connect with all these things. And I mean, the ways that it has changed my life are so profound. And then I just naturally began weaving in, working in the Akashic Records with the astrology readings. And so the astrology readings became more intentionally intuitive. And that, really, really changed the way that my work, the way that I do my work. But yeah, that was really the moment. And that was only 2020, fall of 2023.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
I did that certification with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really wasn't that long ago.
No.
But it is absolutely wild how much my gifts have blasted open since then. And I actually had a reading with someone at some point, and she told me, she was like, oh yeah, it was always meant to be that way, that was the age at which you were supposed to start to remember. And I was like, oh, okay.
I just got the chills.
Yeah. And I see it reflected in my astrology chart too, actually. So that's really validating and interesting.
Oh, that's so freaking cool. Well, it's been such an honor for me to witness you and teach you and see your gifts grow and just see all of the expansion that you've been through. I mean, it's just amazing. And just for my listener to know, Lia is very clairvoyant, which I find fascinating because you're one of the people who has a really deep talent for being able to see things in your mind's eye, which is not the case for everybody. And so I've learned so much myself and teaching Lia and being her mentor because you've taught me how some clients who are more clairvoyant, you see things so symbolically. And to learn how to work with that spiritual language, to learn how to develop that, again, it's like learning a new language, this symbolic language that you develop when in connection with working with your spirit guides has just been really fascinating and really cool to watch. So, yeah, I love it. So, thank you for letting me guide you and for saying yes to signing up for yourself and for the records.
Thank you so much. It is one of the best things I've ever done.
Yay.
So, yeah. And I will also add that with that on that note about the clairvoyance, thank you for saying all that. And I think it helps me too, because one of my main callings and gifts, I think, is seeing past lives. And I think it helps that I really like see them. That piece coming in of like, oh, I can see the vivid details. It's really can be quite fun. And it always feels like an adventure to me. And I find that, during the Akashic Records certification, I think it was during the certification that it came through to me that there was a past life I had in Egypt where I was an astrologer. And that was so validating to me because it was like, oh, I'm just remembering this astrology piece of things. It's not new. And that's why it feels so natural to me. It feels like second nature. It just feels like part of me. It honestly feels like a friend to me, astrology. Like it's just like a friend that's always there supporting me. And I just work with it. Maybe it sounds strange, but yeah, it was really cool to see that past life piece and be able to connect with that soul remembrance and recognize that we really are all just ancient wisdom embodied, and we can just tap into that.
Hell yeah. Yes. So well said. So I have an interesting question for you, which is when you think about the birth chart and you get someone's birth information and you pull up their birth chart, what what does the birth chart mean to you, like at a philosophical level? Like how would you describe it? Do you see it as the person's soul blueprint? Do you see it as, the soul contracts like that someone has in this lifetime? Like how do you understand the purpose of the birth chart and what it means?
Definitely both of those. I see it as a soul blueprint. I do see soul contracts in the birth chart, but I would say that I see it as a snapshot of a person's soul. It's so intimate looking at a birth chart. I find that people don't necessarily realize that how intimate it is, but it's like letting someone see into your soul. And there is so much there. And letting someone look at your birth chart, that's really intimate. Like I wouldn't necessarily share that with anyone. I'd share it with someone that I trusted. It's really like an energetic exchange. When I look at someone's birth chart, I have to clear my energy afterwards, even if I just look at it,
Yeah.
because you do take on energy from that, because it's like you're gazing into someone's soul. But I see it as a spider web where you can kind of see the different pieces of life that are connected, and the connections between this life and past lives and your ancestry, and how it's all woven into this beautiful web that creates who you are in this present moment and how your life is playing out and where your life is going. And there's so much beauty in that intricacy, and there is just so much to unpack there, layer upon layer upon layer. And you could spend your entire lifetime studying one birth chart and you still wouldn't get to everything. Like it's just endless. And that's the amazing thing about it. It's so interesting. And I'm constantly learning and seeing new things about my own birth chart. And as different transits happen, it brings up new things for me, that I hadn't seen before in my birth chart. So yeah, I see it as this living, breathing thing that is so deep and so beautiful, and really like requires a lot of care to look at, because you're really it's so tender. You're looking at someone's soul.
It's so true. I love that. That's like one of the most beautiful explanations I've ever heard, to be honest. So thank you for saying
Oh,
that. Just
thank you.
gorgeous. Yeah. And one of the things that fascinates me the most about it, because I'm passionate about astrology too, which you guys know, I just love how multidimensional it is, meaning that if I looked at my birth chart every single day over the course of 3 months or a year, every single time I would probably intuitively see something new. I would probably pick up on some nuance or some new thing about myself, or see how some transit is affecting me in a different way based on what's coming up in my life. And I just find that so cool, because I think sometimes people have this assumption about astrology that, oh, you can just have like one birth chart reading one time, and that's like enough. Just like find out your sun, moon, and rising, and like that's enough. But it's no, it's so deep, it's so layered, it's so complex. Like there's so much. I continue to learn more about myself. I continue to use the tools for myself with my own clients just to get to know them better. So yeah, I mean, it's really deep and fascinating.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. And it's also interesting to me because often in a reading, a person's sun sign, moon sign, rising sign won't even come up necessarily. And that's such a huge part of a birth chart, but I go wherever I'm led intuitively. So if you think about it, like I can do an entire reading for someone and not even mention their sun
Yeah.
sign. Like you can do an entire reading just on the sun sign. Like there's endless things to speak about in a chart. So yeah, I completely agree with all of that.
And when does the past life work and information start coming in? Like, do you sense that there's resistance in someone's field? Do you start seeing it in your mind's eye? Do you see it specifically in the chart? Like, how does that gift come up for you with a reading?
It's a little bit different every time, but before a reading, I will usually go in the woods and I will open my own Akashic Records and I'll ask what I need to see or know about this person's chart. And sometimes the guides will show me certain planets or asteroids, or they'll show me different symbolism. It's always, you never know. Like, I never know what's going to come through. It's always different. Sometimes they'll just take me right to a past life and they'll just start showing me a person's past life. And then they'll show me, and then I'll look in the chart and I'll see it reflected in the chart. And sometimes the guides will kind of point me like, oh, look at this, look at that. And I'll be able to see. So sometimes it's just right off the bat, like the guides just hit me with the past life. And then I go to the birth chart and I look for where that's showing up and what it's connected to and how it's affecting other aspects of their life through the lens of the birth chart. Sometimes I will be looking at the birth chart and I'll see karmic pieces and I'll think, okay, you definitely have a past life, for example, around having, maybe they have a lot of Leo karma in their chart. And then I can say, okay, you definitely have a past life or many past lives where you've had a lot of pain around being seen. And then in the Akashic Records, I can dive into that past life or past lives and see what comes forward. So sometimes it's kind of Akashic Records first, then astrology, and sometimes it's astrology and then Akashic Records. It always comes through differently. Every reading is so unique.
That's amazing. And I love that you blend the two together because it just makes sense. Like now now that you use both and I use a little bit of both with the work that I do, it just makes sense, because why wouldn't we want more access to the information that we can see symbolically on paper on the birth chart? The records can give us the dirty details of the past life and how it's holding someone back, which is just so fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. It's so validating.
Hmm.
It's like you have a physical map of what you're shown in the records, and you can look at it on paper, and it validates so much that comes through in the records, and I just love that. I like having the tangible piece to look at and see it reflected back at me.
So I want us to dive into that topic of using and looking at the body as a tool and as such a sacred part in a vessel for manifestation. So can you just help us understand a little bit more of like why your body is such an integral part of this work. I think some people come into the manifestation journey through the lens of the law of attraction, what you think becomes reality, or maybe some people come into manifestation making vision boards and like doing the subconscious reprogramming, and all those things are great, but I think taking a body-based approach is often a missing puzzle piece, exactly like what you shared. So can you share with us a little bit about why you believe it's so important and what you've learned about that topic?
Absolutely. So I feel that all of those things you mentioned are important. Subconscious reprogramming, I do think we manifest from our subconscious thoughts, not from our conscious thoughts, but from our subconscious thoughts. So subconscious reprogramming is super important. Future self, imagine visioning, all those things are wonderful manifestation tools that you mentioned. But if we're not here, like if we're not here in our bodies, then none of it matters, right? Like I spent most of my life out of my body, completely dissociated due to trauma that I experienced from a young age. So my guides have shown me that it was at 8 years old that I fully was like, I'm out of here. And up until that point, I'd kind of been like in and out of my body. But at 8 years old, I just left. Like I just hightailed it out of here. I wasn't present in my physical body anymore. And yeah, with that dissociation, I lived that way for years and years and years. And it wasn't until my 30s that I actually felt my soul come back into my body. And it was, I was taking a flower remedy from Alexa Smart Flower Remedy, Pathos. I took 3 bottles back to back. And on the last day of the 3rd bottle, I felt my soul come back into my body for the first time. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life. I felt my soul come back in and kind of look around like, whoa, what is this place? It was really wild, like such a profound experience. So just as a side note, anyone who struggles with dissociation, really recommend Pathos. But anyway, once I came back into my body, I realized like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I hadn't been here, but I haven't been here. And then it's become a practice for me of learning to stay in my body. And it's from that place that we can call in our desires. I just truly believe that it's a lot harder. It's not that you can't manifest if you're dissociated, but it's just a lot harder. You're more magnetic when you're really here, when you're really grounded, when you're really present and you're in your body. You're so magnetic. So I just see it so important for that reason. And it also makes it so that you can hold the manifestations more. If you're have a tendency towards dissociation, it's not that you can't manifest, but it just might make it a little bit harder to hold on to the manifestations. You really want to be grounded in your physical body so that you can bring the things in that you want and also have the capacity to keep them, to hold them, to maintain that, whether that's a healthy, loving relationship or whatever else it is that you're calling in. So I think for me, it's just like, it's so foundational. It's so fundamental. And also just, you see a person who you can just tell when they're really like present in their body. They look magnetic. Their aura is magnetic. You feel the magnetism kind of glowing off of them. And yeah, to me, it's like the number one thing.
I freaking love that. Yes. So well said. All of it. It's so important. So like, I literally just want to like highlight everything that Lia just said, because it is crucial. It is so important. We have to be here. We have to be present. We have to live. We are here to live. We are on this planet to be alive in this physical vessel. That's a big part of what we're here to do and who we're here to be. We got to be here. We can't just fly away all the time. And yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so true. And like, I just want to touch on what you said too around holding onto your manifestations, because I think sometimes people don't really understand what that means. Just want to give like a really clear example around that. If you are living your life from a dissociated place, you're always going to be making unconscious decisions that could sabotage you. So for example, if you're trying to hold on to money, then, or you're trying to manifest more money and you're living life dissociated and unconsciously, then you're going to make silly money mistakes. You're going to forget to pay your bills. You're going to overspend. You're going to do these things that are going to make it harder for you to hold on to the money that you've worked so hard to manifest, just like as an example. So it's really about coming down to earth. And I find for me, and Lia, I'm going to ask your thoughts on this too, but one of the big things for me has been learning how to slow down and like really take a pause and really take a breath before I make decisions, before I take action in my life. Because if I am just kind of rushing into things or just really doing it again from that sort of not fully present space, and sometimes, not that you make mistakes or that things go wrong, but just sometimes it's not coming from that magnetic grounded perspective like you shared, that I think is so important.
Yes, I agree completely. I think that, I identify as having ADHD, and whether you want to label it as that or not, either way, it's like this scatterbrained. I can feel very scatterbrained
Yeah.
sometimes, and I have to like bring myself back and ground myself, because when I make decisions or do things from that scattered place, then A, I just don't feel as good, and B, it's not as impactful and effective. So yeah, really like slowing down, trying to calm the scatteredness, it makes such a huge difference in terms of being able to call in and then hold the manifestations like you were just describing.
And my listener, I highly recommend that as you're listening to this episode with Lia, if you haven't yet, there will be an episode that came out right before this one with Tori Gorman, a therapist, and we talk about ADHD and spiritual women. So please listen to that episode, because there's so much packed in there that really taps into this topic, because I feel like we could take this conversation in that direction. There's so much to say there, but I want to keep us grounded here in the moment with this discussion. And so my next question for you, Lia, is when it comes to staying grounded in your body, what are some things that you do in your own life that help you really come back down to earth?
Yeah, this is something that I have really had to learn. It has not come easy to me. This is where my 3 line in human design comes in. I really have to learn it every day. I have to learn it. Um, I find that focusing on protein, lots of protein, more protein than you think you need,
True.
especially first thing in the morning. I try to eat within an hour of waking up, but even sooner, ideally. Try to get protein in, and also fat, balancing your meals so you have healthy fat and carb and protein. And just having meals, not letting yourself get hungry, too hungry. It's okay to have, a little bit. Like you want your digestive fire. You want to support your digestive fire by allowing yourself to fully digest your food before intaking more food. But at the same time, you don't want to let yourself get too hungry, because then your blood sugar can spike and do all sorts of funky things. So it's really so fundamental and important, eating lots of protein, eating regular meals. And this is something that full disclosure, like I struggle with. Like it's a constant practice for me. It's not always the easiest thing. And learning to nourish ourselves deeply is not always the easiest thing, but it is so, so fundamental. So that's kind of number one. Number two would be flower essences truly have helped me so much. It's absolutely been so game changing for me. Just can't recommend those more.
Same, girl, same.
And no caffeine on an empty stomach. That's a big one. So definitely no coffee on an empty stomach. I'm not a coffee drinker personally. It just makes me psycho, but
Same.
I drink lots of matcha, or not lots, but I drink matcha every day. And I try to never do that on an empty stomach. Even though matcha is absorbed more slowly by the body, and it's not going to give you that same anxiousness that coffee might, that jolt of energy that coffee might, it's still caffeine, and it's still important to have it with or just after food. Same with chocolate, things like that. So yeah, just being careful about practices that are going to help regulate your nervous system. And that includes, no caffeine on an empty stomach. Also, things like breath work are so helpful. Little EFT tapping videos online. I love those. I think having so much Gemini in my chart, I kind of need to be like moving all the time. I think like the Sagittarius and the Gemini. So the EFT tapping I love because it's movement. You're constantly moving.
My Gemini moon agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my
Yeah. So
gosh.
those are some little tips. Yeah.
I love all of that so much. So beautiful. And yeah, it doesn't have to be hard, it's just easy, small shifts, small changes, just being more intentional with your day-to-day life and living more in the present moment than just moving on autopilot, I feel like is so huge. And some of the ways that you mentioned are crucial for us in being able to do that. So
Yeah.
I want to talk more about the love manifestation piece. So if someone listening right now is, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Okay. If someone listening right now is single and wanting to manifest love, like where do they first begin, Lia? Where do we first begin? Tell us, myself included.
Yes. Well, it's so funny because it's myself included as well. And that is one of the funniest things to me because I'm single myself and I am a love manifestation guide. And when my guides told me to go down this path, I was like, my ego was like, but I'm single. And my guides were like, no, this is the work you're meant to be doing. Do it anyway, because it's really about self love. It doesn't matter what is in my own external reality. I trust so deeply in spirit that I know that my person is coming and it's coming in divine timing. But it's doing this work has required me to really set my ego aside and just say like, okay, like I haven't manifested my person yet, so I am still single. So I feel like that's important to say. But I have gotten to a place where I feel so full of self-love and self-worth that I just know without a shadow of a doubt that my person is coming, that there's no question. And also balancing that with the non-attachment of being like, okay, and if my person never comes, I will be okay. Like, I absolutely will be okay. And also, I really want that. And like, I'm human. So for me, I share all that because that's really the place that I want to support my clients in getting to. At the end of the day, it's not really about manifesting the partner, it's about manifesting the depth of self-love that will call in that partner, manifesting the depth of self-love that will take you to this place where you are just so surrendered and trusting so deeply in the divine that you are like, oh yeah, my person is coming. Like it's just a matter of time and there's no question. And also being so calm and rooted in yourself that you know that you're okay even if they don't.
Yes. So beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. And I think that brings up an interesting topic, which I feel like isn't talked about a lot. I feel like we have so many paradigms in our society around love and relationships where we find ourselves in this kind of singular focus of like, oh, I'm like here to find marriage and like I'm here to just find the one person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And I feel like that does us ourselves a disservice because that keeps us so one track minded on this one possibility when what if we have soul contracts with connections and people that we're meant to get to know and we're meant to explore and these relationships that are meant to unfold without attachment to the timing and like what it's going to unfold into and what it's going to lead to and like the outcome. I think it's so important, and I know you agree on this too, and I'll have you share your thoughts on this in a minute, but I just feel like it's so important to approach this work from the perspective of possibility that you never know what your next relationship is going to lead to. And instead of seeing it as like this one track mind, like, oh my God, is he my person? Like, or are they my person or are they not? to approach it from this perspective of possibility of like, what if I'm meant to meet this person, in this lifetime and have a soul contract with them, and just be present, for the ride, and what it's meant to teach me about myself, and what I'm meant to learn about me and my own journey, and what that's going to mirror back to me too, and also how I'm here to support them, and whatever that relationship is meant to be about between the two of us. So yeah, I find all of this to be so fascinating. Do you agree?
Oh my gosh, I could not agree more. I'm like, I have no notes. That was beautiful, beautifully said. Like, yeah, I agree absolutely, completely. It's really one of my biggest pet peeves that as a society, we've decided that people are meant to date only to find their life partner. And if you're not dating your life partner, then you're wasting your time. This idea of like wasting your time
Yeah,
is so silly to me.
true.
I was in a relationship for 7 years and it didn't work out. And that was not a waste of time.
Yeah,
That was a beautiful, incredible journey and experience that expanded my soul, taught me the things I needed to be able to go forward with my own life without him. And yeah, I had a major soul contract with him, and then that was meant to end, and that's okay. And it's still like a beautiful part of my experience on this earth and something I was meant to experience here. And when he and I broke up, I was 28, I think. And at that point, we'd been together for most of my 20s. So I hadn't really dated much. And I felt like I had missed out on that. I think the Gemini and Sagittarius in me wanted to explore, wanted to experiment, wanted to get to date a variety of people. And I've done that over the past 7 years or so. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, I'm so grateful for that. Um, I've dated quite a few people in that time, and some of those dynamics have been challenging, and I'm so grateful for all of it. Like, it's taught me so much. It's taught me so much about what I need. It's helped my soul grow in the exact ways that my soul needed to grow to now call in my life partner. Because now I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Like, I'm really ready. But I needed to go through all that. My soul needed to have that time to experiment and explore in order to feel ready now to really be truly open to a relationship. So I just share that because, yeah, nothing is a waste.
yeah,
We have soul contracts with, sometimes one partner that we're meant to be with for life, that we meet when we're a teenager and we stay with them.
true.
And then some of us have soul contracts with 40 people. Like, you don't know. You don't know what you
Yeah,
chose before you incarnated. And yeah, so I think it's so, so, so important to be open to the fact that every relationship, no matter how big or small, can have a huge impact on our life and is valuable, and it's never a waste of time.
absolutely. It's really, it's a journey of the soul relationships truly at the end of the day, and what you're meant to learn about yourself through those relationships, and also how you're meant to impact other people too. It's not, yes, of course, like this journey is about you and what you're learning, but also your energy is amazing, and everyone listening to this, like, you're such a light, you're such a beautiful soul. You're here to impact so many people in different ways, whether that be the person you're currently married to, or whether that be, you're someone you're in a relationship with, or short-term connections, or like whatever the journey is for you right now. So just felt like that needed to be said too.
100%.
And so with this journey of manifesting and opening yourself up to divine life partner, or whatever kind of relationship you're calling in right now, what are some things that you work with your clients on, or things that come up in sessions, or maybe even common blocks that you find that women have on this journey that you feel like you need to speak to?
Yeah, so the first one that comes to mind, I think, is such a huge one, and I think it's a big part of what I'm meant to um, incorporate in my work in this lifetime, is shame. I have Lilith right on my MC in astrology. And to put it in simplest terms, your MC represents your legacy in this lifetime, kind of like the impact that you're here to have. And Lilith, one of the things that Lilith represents is it's a goddess asteroid, and it represents shame, and many other things as well. But that's a big piece of it. And so for me, I do feel like there's this big piece around helping others face and transmute their shame. I really think that shame is one of the biggest blocks to healthy relationships. And we all have shame. We all have it somewhere because we all have Lilith in our charts. And the more we can bring that into the light and clear it and feel it and let it go, then the more space there is for healthy love. But if we are holding on to a bunch of repressed shame and we're not facing it, then we're always going to be hiding that from our partner, whether consciously or unconsciously. But we're always trying to hide those parts of ourselves. And if you're trying to hide parts of yourself, then it's going to be really difficult to have a truly authentic, open, like truly loving relationship where you're, and by open, I mean open, like open-hearted, not like open, you know what I mean? But just to have a truly, like a relationship where you truly see each other. If you're hiding parts of yourself, then you can't really have a relationship where someone truly sees you. If you're hiding parts of yourself, even from yourself. And so it's so fundamental, in my opinion, to bring these pieces of ourselves that we're ashamed of into the light and bring them some healing and love and release some of that shame and just let it go. And that is, creates so much space for healthy love.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. And I had so many light bulb moments with what you were sharing. One of the biggest things that I really love helping my clients with, and that I feel like is so important for us right now and on the love journey, is really just being your most authentic self in all situations, all places, all areas of your life. And that includes love. If you're calling in a new love connection, it's so important that you show up as you, that you don't try to dim your light or hide your light. And I feel like as spiritual women, that can bring up so much with the dating world, because we're like, oh, like, can I be my true self? Can I show up as me? And I love with what you were sharing about the shame piece of things, because if we have shame around these parts of ourselves, and again, like we all do, but if there's something that's really keeping a part of ourselves suppressed and repressed, then again, like you said, it's going to kind of stay in this locked box that when we, make a new connection or we meet someone new and we're not willing to go there, then it creates this resistance to that deeper intimacy and that deeper growth and that deeper open-hearted connection that is so important and such a foundation in trust in any relationship, not even just romantic, but friendships too. I mean, it's so true. So I love what you shared, because leaning into your authenticity is just such an important part of this journey, I think.
Oh my gosh, yes, 100%. And you are so authentic. I feel like you are such an amazing example of authenticity. I've always just loved how authentic you are.
Right back at you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, Lia, I feel like I could ask you questions all day long about these topics. There's so much here to share. Is there anything else, just to wrap us up today, on the love manifestation journey, using astrology, using the records, that you feel called to share that we haven't spoken about yet?
I think I'll just add, like, there's so many different components of a chart that can come forward, stand out to me. Just to mention a couple, like, I look at Persephone a lot to look at personal power. That's really big in understanding kind of like what might be blocking someone from calling in the kind of love that they want. So I do look at that often in a chart, Persephone, to see how that's playing into your sense of connection to your personal power, like where you might feel disempowered, and how that might be affecting your relationships and how you can call your power back to yourself. I look at self-worth stuff a lot in a chart, looking at things in the second house. And I look at the Chiron wound a lot. That's a huge one, just to see where someone's deepest wounding is and what they're really here to transmute in this lifetime. So there's so many different pieces of a chart that you can tap into, but it's endless and it's always different and it's so fun.
Yes, so many things. I feel like we'll have to have you back on again because there's so many other things we could talk about on this episode. I love it, Lia. So, can you share with the listener where people can find you and some different ways that clients can work with you in your business right now?
Absolutely. So you can find me on my website, liatheastrologer.com, and it's Lia, Lia. So Lia, theastrologer.com. I'm also on Instagram at liatheastrologer.com. And I've got a couple of freebies on there on my website and also through Instagram you can download. And one of them I do speak a little more about the Lilith piece and the shame. And then I offer, you asked me to share my offerings,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. I offer 30-minute clarity in love readings. So if you are just wanting to get a taste of my work and get some insights into your love journey and what is going on in your love life and what might be blocking your love manifestations, or manifesting the kind of love that you really want, those readings are a lot of fun and we can really go quite deep in that 30 minutes. And then if you're wanting to dive deeper into your chart, I offer, into your chart and into your healing in general, I offer mentorship program. It's a 4-month program called Amor. And that is really what I love doing most. I really love going deep. That is one of my core values. I just love depth, and it's where, yeah.
Same here, girl.
Yeah. And that's where the real depth of transformation is, being able to work with someone ongoing for that 4-month container. And we can go into your chart and the Akashic Records, as well as the holistic health and feng shui intentional design piece of things, weave it all together. So that's, I love doing that.
Magical. So freaking cool. And just a quick question. Do you offer, if someone wants to look at a synastry chart with someone in their life, maybe that you're married to or in relationship with, or that you have a connection with, do you also offer that work as well?
Yes, absolutely. I love doing that. I don't have that on my website right now, but if someone reaches out to me, I love doing that. The only requirement that I have is that both parties are consenting. So if it's someone that you've been on one date with and you're not really sure whether or not you fully have their permission to have their chart read, then maybe not, but you can ask them, and as long as they're consenting, that's completely fine.
Beautiful.
Then yeah, I love doing that.
I love it. And of course, to wrap us up today, Lia, we have to learn, what does being a mystic mean to you?
Being a mystic, and actually, sorry, can I add one other thing?
Yes. Yep.
I also just want to add that I am here in this life to do astrology readings, and my guides have guided me towards love, and that's what I really am passionate about. But I love doing astrology readings in general. So if someone wants an astrology reading for any topic, I'm so here for it. It doesn't have to be love. So I just always want to throw that out there too, because I like doing all astrology readings.
Yes. And Lia's so talented. We had her teach in the Emily the Mystic membership again about a year ago about Karmic Astrology, and we learned so much from that workshop. So if you're in the membership, check that out. Or if you want to join the membership, that will be from 2024. Yes, fall of 2024. I believe September or October. If you check the workshops, you'll find it in there. You can get more of Lia's magic in there too. And so, Lia, what does being a mystic mean to you?
Okay, being a mystic means to me, I had to think about this one quite a bit. I know you asked this to all of your podcast guests, so I contemplated a lot in advance, and I realized that I was a mystic long before I ever was connected to spirituality or opened up to my spiritual gifts. I think that being a mystic means letting life flow through you. Whether you're consciously aware of that or not doesn't really matter. I feel that long before I was connected to spirituality, I was naturally allowing spirit to lead me, and I just didn't realize it. And now, as my spiritual gifts have opened up and I've gone down the spiritual path, of course, being consciously aware of it, I can surrender to it more deeply, and that's where so much more magic can unfold. But I think my point is that we are all mystics, whether we realize it or not. And it's really just about letting life flow through you and letting spirit lead you and trusting in the unknown.
Beautiful. And any final tips for living a more mystical life?
Yeah, two things. One for me is presence. As I spoke to you before, I think that so much of my spiritual journey is through the lens of astrology. It's kind of like a language that I look at the world through. And I think sometimes with astrology, it can be seen as like looking at the stars as, to kind of separate from Earth almost. But I actually see astrology as a way of we look at the stars in order to get more grounded here on Earth, to really be present, because that's truly like the most mystical thing you can do, is really be present here on Earth in every moment. And it's a constant practice, but to me, that's true transcendence, is being able to be fully present here in this reality. So I think cultivating that presence is my number one tip. And then number two is self-trust. I think that self-trust is just so important. It's so important. Our relationship to ourselves is foundational to everything. So if we don't trust ourselves, then how can we trust in spirit, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it? How can we trust in the divine to lead us if we don't trust ourselves?
Yep.
And especially for people who have trauma, I think there can be a big rupture in that self-trust, and it can require a lot of repair. And that's been my own experience. But the more I deepen into that self-trust, the more I'm able to trust in spirit and let that lead my life.
Yes. Yes, girl. Yes. Couldn't agree more. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Lia, for sharing your magic and your wisdom and your mysticism here on the show today. I know I can already feel the energy. I know this has resonated with so many people listening. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And the portal is now closed.